Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Our scouting report now lives under a different name. It's the Roadmap to Victory. Penn State wants to reach double digits in the win category again this year. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno, if they can get there in the regular season, I believe they will take part in the newly arranged postseason festivities.
No doubt, and I'll tell you, R&R certainly knows about getting things from point A to point B, and that's going to be the challenge for Penn State with a new conference realignment. Creates a lot of new, exciting matchups. The Big Ten has taken on some good people. So what we're going to do is give you the syllabus for the upcoming semester on some of the weekends you want to pay attention to. And let's talk about some Big Ten non-conference games right out of the gate. USC plays LSU in Vegas, Tom. Texas, week 2, goes to Michigan. Alabama's at Wisconsin, Tom. Alabama may find out Wisconsin a tougher place to play than they think.
Wisconsin's one of the toughest places to play in the country, and having been there, it's always a dogfight.
Yep.
One way or another, even if you win a game, you're going to be beat up after that game.
Yep. And then you look at Notre Dame plays Purdue. Notre Dame plays USC. So again, Big Ten people taking on, and UCLA playing LSU. So again, more games to watch. Now let's talk about some of the other big weekends that we get. Mark your calendars. This is This is why having these teams in the league are exciting, because you get USC, UCLA, USC at Michigan is a Big Ten conference game. Tom, sounds strange to say.
Yes, it does.
Iowa at Ohio State in the 5th of October. UCLA's at Penn State. Michigan at Washington. The 12th of October. Ohio State at Oregon. Penn State at USC. Those are really big-time Big Ten games. Then you go into November. Penn State and Ohio State are playing on the 2nd of November, which you go, that's the game of the day. Well, it might be Oregon at Michigan. It might be USC at Washington. And then when you go to last weekend, you got some big rivalry games in Notre Dame, USC. A lot to be excited about, Tom.
A lot of people will be sitting in front of their televisions this fall.
No question. So let's talk about the playoff, okay? The 2024 preseason coaches poll, we're going to use and create a bracket as to what that's going to look like. And Penn State is number 9, but when you factor in the conference championships, because that's a key, conference champions get buys. Your conference champions based on the poll would be Georgia, Utah, Florida State, and Ohio State. So they get the buy. Now, you fill everybody in. So Penn State's 9, but because those teams go ahead of them, now they're 11. Look where they're going, Tom. They're going to Austin, Texas.
It's a great atmosphere down in Austin, Texas, and it certainly will be on that day, too.
No question. I'm making that trip all day because you can eat so much meat, you get a meat coma. Michigan at Alabama, exciting playoff game. Memphis and Oregon, not as much. Notre Dame and Ole Miss, but you start to look at the way these things play out. Penn State then goes to a bowl game, could be playing Florida State, could end up against Ohio State if that seeding holds. And then you look at a lot of excitement, a lot of things to be excited about. So it creates a different environment for
And I
you.
can guarantee one thing, it will not be this way by the end of the year.
No question.
Okay.
No question. Now, let's talk about historically what this might mean. We've talked about what it might mean the last 6 to 8 years. Went back and looked at a Penn State team that you say, this might have been a team that in a 12-team playoff wins the whole thing. 1981. Their offensive line inside, 3 guys picked in the top 37 picks in the draft. So let's take a look at that final coaches poll and how that playoff would look at. And Tom, I know you look at a couple of those teams that Penn State beat, but let's look at the bracket now. Penn State would be a 6 seed, hosting Iowa, go to Nebraska, play Nebraska, who they already beat. If USC comes out of that, Penn State have beaten them. And Pitt's over here. Tom, I know you're a big fan of Pitt, and you remember that game really well.
Well, that's still, you talk about it, everybody still talks about the 48-14 game in Pittsburgh.
No question. And the way Penn State closed out that season, that very potentially could have won the whole thing at that point because Warner had gotten hurt the 2 games they lost. So, again, a lot of excitement, a lot of things to look forward to. And, Todd, you're going to be busy.
A lot of fun to think about. Thank you, coaches. And many people think the conference realignment should have been for football only. That is not the case, which means it's California. Here we come for the Nittany Lions' other sports. And LA is beautiful in October, and these teams are going to experience it firsthand. Football on the 12th at LA Coliseum, women's soccer, women's volleyball, both in Cali, multiple days for games against UCLA and USC, men's soccer at Washington on October 18th. One guy that completely understands that travel plan is Lackawanna Trail High School grad Yogi Roth. The Northeast PA native moved to Los Angeles soon after his college football career at Pitt and never came home. He's been working at the Pac-12 network, but is now an analyst with the Big Ten network, and he's curious to see how the merger of teams from the West plays out on the field.
At Washington, you play on the lake. You'll see that when you get up to Montlake in Seattle. So you have to be able to cut through the wind there. But in LA, that's clearly not the vibe. Like, it is 73 and sunny every single day, which is why we still live there. So that'll be fun to watch as teams like UCLA head out and USC head out. What's that going to be like when they go to these different environments?
Yogi is a true renaissance man. He was an assistant coach for Pete Carroll at USC, wrote a book with Carroll on coaching philosophy, along with children's books. He's also acted and directed.